Welcome to the Soulful Success by Design podcast. I'm Kendra Woods, your host, and a former corporate healthcare executive turned entrepreneur. After battling burnout, I discovered the magic of human design. As a 6'2" splenic projector, I am here to lead you on a journey of self-discovery, self-mastery, and unstoppable growth. So join me as we dive into the world of human design, mindset, energetics, and aligned success. We will talk about the highs and the lows of creating soulful and meaningful success in your life and business on your terms. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello there, beautiful soul, and welcome back to Soulful Success by Design. So today's episode is for the woman who is ready to stop shrinking, who's ready to be seen, to radiate, to express herself fully, not just in business, but in her life. So I'm going to take you into a personal story, a full circle, heart-stretching moment I experienced last week with my daughter. And I want to share this with you because it reminded me that boldness, visibility, and power aren't things that you grow out of. They're things that you reclaim. And we're going to talk about what that has to do with business, with Beyoncé, and with becoming her, the woman that you're here to be. So let me just take you back to literally like a week ago today. So me and my daughter took a trip, a mother-daughter trip to Atlanta, just the two of us. And it's been years since we've done something like that, just me and her on the road, on an adventure. And for this trip, we were going to the Beyoncé concert, the Cowboy Carter concert. And so this was her first quote unquote, grown up concert. And it was, I wanted to take this trip with her because it's one of those moments that I knew we would remember forever. So now, when I first planned this trip, I wasn't thinking about like dressing up. I figured I'd just go and obviously I'd be cute. I'd get me a cute outfit and I'd be comfortable. But my daughter, she had other plans and she was like, Mom, we have to dress up, right? Like it's the Cowboy Carter concert. We've got to have our cowboy boots and our cowboy hat. And so something in me, this little flicker of like, well, why not? Kind of like showed up and came alive. And so I was like, you know what? Yes, let's do this. I said yes to the sparkles. I said yes to the moment. I said yes to letting myself feel alive and radiant and powerful on purpose. And so let me tell you what I wore. So I wore a sparkly, bedazzled black bustier. I wore some black mid-waisted shorts. I had a rhinestone studded silver belt with the biggest, boldest buckle. I had my black cowboy boots, a wide brim cowboy black hat with a little bit of bedazzle on the hat. I had my nails, red lips, and lashes. And the fun part is my daughter actually did my lashes, which was its own like special memory. And it was the kind of outfit that, I hadn't wore since I was in my 20s. And so I was standing there in front of the mirror and I didn't feel like I was trying to be 20 again. I felt like I was reuniting with a version of me that I kind of tucked away, because of being a professional and being a mother, that part of me, the bold one, the playful one, the one who took up space just by being. And when we got to the concert, it was, oh my gosh, y'all, it was absolutely electric. I think for the whole duration of the show, I had goosebumps. I had goosebumps. It was a visceral experience. Over thousands of people gathered, right? The lights, the energy, the music that was pulsing through the air. And there I was in that moment, a woman and a young girl again, like all at the same time, dancing beside my daughter, laughing, singing, clapping, stomping our feet, creating a core memory together. And one I know, like I said, that will carry with us for the rest of our lives. But here's what really hit me. that night, it wasn't just about Beyonce. It wasn't even about the outfit. It was about remembrance, remembering that I'm still her, that I don't need to dim down to be respectable, to be a mother, to be a mentor, to be a businesswoman, right? I get to be playful. I get to be powerful. I get to be radiant and responsible. I get to be visible and vulnerable. And so in that moment, like I gave myself permission to take up space because we don't grow out of our radiance. We just forget how to wear it. We forget how to wear it because as we move through life, we put on all these different layers of conditioning that say, in order to be taken seriously, you need to speak like this and show up like this and dress like this. And for me personally, you all know I have a corporate background. I was in the corporate world for over a decade. And so in that space, it was very much about displaying a certain idea of professionalism. The industry that I was in, I mean, we were required to wear suits, to have on a suit jacket. We were required to keep our nails manicured in a natural way. So there was no like fun nail designs that we could wear. We were actually required to wear, I wouldn't say wear our hair in a certain way, but we couldn't, like if you wanted to color your hair a certain way, it really needed to be deemed as like a natural way that your hair would be, right? So there was a lot of restrictions, and the way that you spoke and the way that you carried yourself had to land just right. And so coming into entrepreneurship, I carried that with me. And just like many of you probably resonate with this, you carry a part of this with you because not only does that happen in the corporate space, it also happens in the world around you where you're told that as a woman in business, if you dress too playful in bright colors or whatever, no one's going to take you seriously, right? Or that if you show up and you are playful in a playful energy, or you're dancing, or you're just letting your feminine flow, that no one's going to take you seriously. And so then what we do over time is we begin to adapt to that, right? And we begin to kind of tuck away those parts of us that actually make us who we are as women. And so when you are building a business, when you're building a brand, it's important to allow those parts of you to come out and play because your business is an extension of you. It's an essence, it's an extension of your energy. Okay. And so many times we can wonder why in business, why something doesn't feel like it's landing, why our creativity feels stifled, or why it seems like our message just isn't coming across. And it's because we're running it through this conditioned filter that we've been taught throughout our lives. So, anyway, I want to talk to you about how all of this and me being at this concert and just watching Beyonce not just perform, but watching her work essentially, how this all connects to business. Because I'm telling you, like, this was a full body lesson. And what I know for sure is that our businesses don't grow when we're hiding. They don't expand when we're afraid to be seen. They don't magnetize when we're dimming our voice to be palatable or quote unquote professional. And so this moment at this concert with my daughter reminded me that visibility is a frequency, not a formula. It is a frequency. So it's not just what you post or the kind of video you make or any of that. It's how you show up. And it brought me back to something that I shared recently. I talked a little bit about this in some content over the week because I was standing there in a stadium of thousands of people. I mean, the house was completely packed. It was a sold out show. And I was just in absolute awe. I remember standing there and just looking around me and just taking it all in. They gave us these little bracelets when we first walked in that had like a little tie that you tie to your wrist. And I had no idea what they were. And my daughter was like, Mom, these are going to light up. And it still didn't make sense to me. But once the show started, these bracelets they gave us, they actually lit up with the song that she was singing. And so the whole stadium was just lit. And I just stood there taking it in. I was looking at, what it takes to bring that many people together and what kind of energy and embodiment and alignment it takes to be that magnetic. And Beyonce, she doesn't bring crowds together because she tries to be perfect. She brings people together because she's resonant. And so, again, I had this thought as I was sitting there, what would happen if more women led their businesses like that? I can't help it. Like, I don't care where I go. I'm always looking at things through the perspective of business. And so, what would happen if more of us led our businesses like that? And it inspired me to think about, okay, how am I leading my business? How am I showing up? In what ways? What can I learn here? What lessons could I gather from this concert that I could bring back with me and begin to embody? And so, you know, what would happen if we led our businesses like that? Not from a place of performance, but from a place of presence. And what if we stopped trying to follow the rules and started showing up like the main character of our own mission? What if we let ourselves be seen? What if we believed that we could show up in sparkles and soul and still be respected, still be wealthy, still be powerful? So I realized that as I'm standing in this stadium, watching Beyonce take the stage, watching her do her thing, I realized it wasn't just a show. For me, it wasn't anyways. It was a masterclass in business and in embodiment and in leadership. And in this episode, I wanted to share that story with you, but I also want to share with you four core lessons that I took away. I talked about four other lessons on my social media, so you can head on over to Instagram. Today, this will go out a little bit later. I shared another four lessons that I took away from this, but I want to share another set of lessons with you today that I believe every soul-led entrepreneur needs to hear, myself included, right? So the first lesson is, or principle, I should say, is focusing on resonance over performance. So when we look at an artist like Beyonce, she doesn't perform to impress. She resonates in order to connect. So she tells stories. She evokes feeling. It's not just about like hitting every note. She embodies every single moment. So in business, it's not about saying the perfect thing. And because we can fall into that sometimes, we want to know like, what's the perfect thing to say? What's the perfect way that I can organize my message? It's not about being perfect. It's about saying the true thing. It's about saying what is alive and real and in front of you right now. The thing that carries your frequency, your story, your soul. And this is what's missing when we fall too much into the formulaic side of business, where we want to take someone else's recipe and overlay it onto our business and that's where that question mark comes of like, why isn't this landing? I don't understand why something doesn't feel right. It feels off, or I feel like I'm confusing people. It's because it may not be carrying your frequency, your story, your soul. You're trying to take a recipe that was created from someone else's frequency, from their story, from their learnings, and you're quite literally trying to put that in your business. And so I'm not saying that you can't take these frameworks. What I'm saying is you really want to look at these frameworks and from that begin to create your own. Right. And create something that's true for you. Because one of the biggest lessons that I have learned in my 9-year journey of entrepreneurship is that, like, there's no like right or wrong way to do business. There's no one way to do business. There's your way. There's your way. The way that carries your frequency, your story, and your soul. The second principle or lesson is that curation is power. So every detail from this concert, the set list, the visuals, the transitions, like even like the silent like beat of the music between songs, and even how the concert started was intentional. At the beginning of the concert, it wasn't just like boom, Beyonce popping on stage, right? There was music that was pulsating, that had an energy to it, that literally hyped the crowd. And so she hadn't even stepped on the stage, and the crowd was going wild because the music that they were playing, that she was playing, had this frequency about it. It had this expectation about it that was getting people excited. Okay. And then after that, like her dancers came out on stage in this slow and dramatic way, very intentional, right? This build up. So nothing was random. And so in your business, what would happen if you brought that same level of care to your business experience, to your brand experience, to how you onboard clients, to how you move through your launches? So it's not about, you don't need more, you need clarity and curation. So taking the time to get really clear on, okay, how do I want to move through this launch? How do I want to feel? How do I want other people to feel? What message am I wanting to convey through my energy, through my words? Um, and really taking the time to sit with that and breathe that into your launch, for example, or when you're onboarding clients, thinking about how you want your clients to feel when they're onboarding. One of the things I love to do with in working with my private clients, I love to send them like a beautiful gift because I want them to feel taken care of. I want them to feel a sense of like that giddy expectation and that excitement that we all feel when we receive something beautiful in the mail. Beauty is a value of mine. And so then I allow that to be something that's expressed in how I onboard my clients by sending them this beauty. Like I intentionally curate the gift boxes that I send to my clients. It's not just a prepackaged, okay, here you go. I take the time to actually go through and curate it. So like how can you bring this curation into your business, into your brand? The third lesson I want to share with you here is own your role as the leader. So Beyonce didn't ask for permission. Okay. She walked onto that stage knowing that she belonged there. And it wasn't arrogance, it was embodiment. And so, what I want to share with you today is you don't have to wait to be chosen. You get to choose yourself. You are the voice of your mission, the leader of your space, the channel of your work. But first, you have to own that role. You have to own your brilliance, own your genius. Step onto your stage knowing that you belong there. So, your stages as a business owner are your social media platforms. If you have a podcast, that is your stage. If you're somebody who connects and meet with people in person, that is your stage. So, walking into all of your stages and all of your platforms knowing that you belong there. And I see this as something that holds a lot of soul-led and highly sensitive businesswomen back, especially when it comes to social media, because there's so much energy in that space. You're looking at everybody else's stage and then feeling some kind of way about how you're going to show up on your stage, or maybe even comparing how someone else's stage looks to how your stage looks. And so, what I want to encourage you to do today is just focus on your stage, focus on your platform. What do you want it to look like? How do you want it to feel? And just owning your space on the internet. Okay, owning your space when you walk into a building, an in-person event, when you walk into a networking event, like own your space and own your role as a leader. Know that you're brilliant. Know that you're a genius at what you do. And then the fourth lesson is you can't lead if you don't let yourself be seen. And this is the one that really hits deep with me, and I think with a lot of women out there, because Beyonce lets herself be fully seen. and her softness and her power and her story. When we were there at the concert, and this is my second concert that I have attended of hers, you see her in her power, owning the stage, right? Like you can feel the power in her voice as she sings the notes of her song. You can see her in her power as she owns the outfits and the costumes that she is wearing and how she moves along across the stage, right? But she also lets you see her softness as well. And in this series, she brought her children on stage. And so you can see her softness and just like how she looks at them and like that soft energy, feminine energy in her. And she also shares with you like parts of her story. So obviously, we don't know all the ins and outs of Beyonce's life, right? But she doesn't, for the most part, hide her past, her process, or her evolution. She weaves it into her art. So while we were there at the concert, between her set changes and things, there was this big, jumbo screen, and you could literally see like she showed, footage of her um practicing the choreography and being in the studio recording songs. You see her with her children. There was one clip where it looked like she had a knee injury of some sort, and so she had to have knee surgery. And it shows her a little clip of her like during like rehabilitation and therapy and strengthening her knee. And then it shows her, all the different iterations of her evolution from her 2+ decade career span. And so it's all of her. So I want to encourage you to bring all of you forward. And again, this is where I think, again, that conditioning comes into play, because I remember when I was in the corporate space, like you don't show up and you're not talking about, um, your story and where you've been and what you've overcome. And maybe you talk about your kids, but you're not really like leaning into like motherhood and like you just everything's about business. Like what's the bottom line? Business, performance, professionalism is seen differently in the corporate space than it is when you're out here building a business and building a brand. When you're building a brand, like people need to see you and feel you. So sharing all the parts of you. And sometimes, yes, you know, that means allowing yourself to be a little vulnerable. That means give yourself permission to be a little, transparent, but that doesn't take away from your power. It actually adds to it. It adds to your magnetism. It adds to your power. It adds to your resonance and your connection with your audience. Okay. So in business, we often hide like the very parts of us that would magnetize our audience the most. And so your story is not a liability, it's your leadership. Okay. Like I share in my story often that I was fired from my last corporate position. And that wasn't something when I first started my business that I was ready to just come out and say, because I had some shame wrapped around that, because I could not believe for the life of me that my biggest fear came true at that time back in 2016 when my boss called me in her office and said, "Hey, like we're letting you go." And I was devastated, right? Because I did all the things. Like back then, like the version of me then, I was like, "But I did all the things. I checked all the boxes." And you mean to tell me that that wasn't good enough? And so I walked away feeling really shameful about that experience, but over time, obviously, I've healed that and I've accepted it. It is what it is. And I didn't allow myself, I detached my worth and what it meant about me. I detached that from from the fact of, okay, they let me go. I didn't need to make it about me as a woman, or if I was good enough or not good enough, or what's wrong with me. I let go of that feeling of like, oh, I need to fix myself. No, it happened. It's a part of my story. It expanded me. It grew me. It showed me. It helped me actually gain more clarity around what I wanted in my life and how I wanted to show up in my life. And it was actually at the like it's what I wanted, if I'm being real. Like I often when I tell this story now, I'm like, I manifested being let go from my job. Like I just did. Because for months I walked around knowing that that was not where I wanted to be. I wasn't happy. Like my frequency was just like, no. And so I quite literally manifested being let go, but that didn't mean there wasn't some shame that didn't come with it. There was some shame with it, and so I had to unravel that shame and just own it. Yep, I was let go. And so that actually builds your leadership. It builds your resonance. It builds your your own personal authority. And so the truth of the matter is that you don't have to be Beyonce to walk in this kind of energy that I'm sharing with you today. You just have to be you fully. You just have to choose to show up in resonance with intention, in your power, and with the willingness to be seen. And that's a key word here, willingness. Are you willing to be seen? Are you willing to allow yourself to be seen in your softness, to be seen in your vulnerability, to be seen in your power, to be seen in your boldness, to be seen in your truth? Are you willing? And then are you willing to then do the work behind the scenes to remind your body and your mind that you're safe and it's okay? So, this episode is another great big permission slip for you. It's a reminder that you get to be her now. The woman who leads boldly, the woman who radiates, the woman who shows up with softness, certainty, beauty, truth. And if there's a part of you that's been hiding, a version of you who misses the stage, the art, the play, the power, I want you to bring her in. Bring her in now. You don't have to wait until you've hit a certain income goal. You don't have to shrink because you're a mom, right? You don't have to tone it down to be taken seriously. In fact, your business needs your boldness. It needs your truth and it needs you. So I'm walking this journey right along with you, right? I see you. I know that it can feel a little unnerving, but we've got to train our bodies that that nervousness we feel, that discomfort that may come with really just letting yourself be seen, that doesn't mean you're unsafe. It doesn't mean there's a danger that you're in a dangerous situation. What it means is that you're expanding. What it means is that you're allowing those parts of you that you've tucked away into the darkness to be brought into the light. And so you know how when you've been, in a dark room for a long time, so like maybe you're at the movies and it's dark in there, then all of a sudden at the end they bring the lights up. It kind of like your eyes have to take a minute to adjust. It's that same thing, right? It's like, oh, okay, we're stepping into a new season, a new way of being. And so let me, communicate to my mind and my body that it's okay. We're just stepping into a new season. It's all right to feel how we're feeling. This is normal to feel like this. Let's just breathe, take one step at a time, keep reminding ourselves that we're safe, and keep showing up. Okay. And this conversation that we've been having today, this is the exact work that we do inside of my soul aligned private mentorship experiences. Yes, we talk about business and growth and offers and leadership, but deeper than that, what I feel like is most important is like we do the identity work, the embodiment work, the permission work, because becoming her isn't something that you think your way into. It's something you live your way into. And my mission is to really support you in being the kind of woman who leads her business. You're not just running a business, like you are leading your business from the inside out, from the core of who you are, from the aligned truth of who you are, and letting that be what ripples out and into your business and building a business from that place, building a business from presence instead of performance. And so if you've been craving support to fully step into your next era, if you're done hiding, if you're ready to build your business from your soul and not from survival, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram. You can DM me the word soul, and I'll send you a link for us to get on a call and have a conversation. We go deep, we move fast, and we build businesses that feel like home. So here's what I want to leave you with. Don't wait for the moment. Be the moment. You don't need to explain your joy. You don't need to downplay your brilliance. You don't need to wear beige in order to be taken seriously. You don't need to wear, a suit jacket to be taken seriously. You're allowed to show up in all of your sparkle and your shine and your playfulness. You're allowed to lead with your soul. You're allowed to be seen fully, boldly, beautifully as you walk your path of becoming. So thank you so much for being here with me. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it. Tag me over on Instagram. I'm at Soulful Success by Design, or message me and tell me what landed. What did this activate in you? And I hope that this conversation today reminded you that you get to be her now. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Soulful Success by Design. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in it, please leave a rating and review on iTunes to help me continue bringing more inspiring content your way. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Soulful Success by Design, or visit my website at KendraKWoods.com for extra inspiration and resources. I appreciate you so much and can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. Until then, remember to create success from your soul and on your terms.